Have you ever encountered a person, they're just walking around and they're humming to themselves? Da da da, they're humming along, and they're very happy, content, in the moment, happy, but humming, vocalizing sound, and by doing so, they have created a state of consciousness, which is in the moment, which is happy, joyful, content, humming. If you could do nothing else beyond, I would suggest, monitoring your breathing, practicing pranayama breathing exercises. And the general rule of that is exhaling on your out breath 50% longer than your in breath. Sometimes I say 2 seconds longer, but if you take an in breath, count to 4, breathe out for a count of 6. But anyway, beyond monitoring your breathing and practicing focused breathing, which is a sure reality engineering, consciousness engineering practice, mindful breathing, that is, humming, sound, creating sound, the reverberations of the sound within your thorax, and how it engineers consciousness. Well, let me tell you a story about how I hummed for about 11 hours one day, one night, and by doing so, it changed my life. It precipitated what is known as a full Kundalini activation. And there was a series of events that my testimony is it began dramatically on 11 August of 2021 and culminated in 24 September 2021 with the full Kundalini activation. But immediately, what precipitated that Kundalini activation was mantra, what is known as mantra, which is this Hindu science of sound, divine sound, and engineering consciousness. And so I'm going to share my personal testimony, and if anything, this video stressed the point of mindful breathing and just hum. Just hum. Doesn't even have to be anything recognizable, but if you're humming, you will change your consciousness immediately. So my personal testimony, and so it is, I am, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, not of the flesh, it's not here in the 3D, this third dimension, but mighty, higher dimensions through God, to the pulling down of strongholds, to dissolving the digital matrix. That is what we're doing. What's going on. And my words, my testimony is the angels of light I work with camouflage spirit, morphing cultural contexts, embracing racial and ethnic diversity, which enables the light to transcend differences in the solely human matrix, empower all people with the divine matrix. Om Band Amen is a new revelation inspired within my God particle. And Om is representative of the Hindu aspect of my inspired awareness based upon Isha Kriya Yoga and Hindu mantras by Satguru. Yes, specifically, and I'm going to share the exact mantra that I was engaged in for a very lengthy time. The video itself was on YouTube. It was 11 hours and 11 minutes, and I went through the whole video. But it was by Isha Yoga, which is Sadhguru's organization. And then Bond of Om Banda is the bond of all humanity and creation throughout the divine omniverse. And as in Amen, seals the divine word with light affirmations and syncretic spiritual technology. Then I go on to explain, another word for God, which is kind of can be a relative term to most people, but infinite intelligence. What is infinite intelligence? Here's a good definition of infinite intelligence, which Napoleon Hill describes in Think and Grow Rich. Infinite intelligence is the force that gives order and origin to everything in the entire universe. It is the prime source, the first cause of everything that comes into existence. Source. People use like this word source, but not to be confused with the God of the Old Testament, this Yahweh God, this God of enslavement and such negativity. So anyway, here's the mantra that I had been engaged with, and but the point here is I'm not going to go through chanting this mantra. The Hindu, the Sanskrit word like Yogeshwaraya, Mahadeva, Yogeshwaraya, Mahadevaya. So those are the sounds of the mantra, which is the language of the soul, of engineering consciousness. But this means the Lord of Yoga, the Great One, Three-Eyed One, Destroyer of the Tripura. And so we have to be very mindful of symbolic language, okay? This is all immensely, vastly symbolic. And it helps to know the words that you're, ultimately, I didn't, when I was doing this, I knew what the English translation was, but I didn't have all the nuances of the meaning. It was unnecessary because this video that I found on YouTube by Sadhguru, and it was quite by chance, I had watched a few of his videos and I felt a bond and affinity with his message, but this was all by chance. And in fact, Sadhguru has said he has initiated more people that he's never met or heard of, than vice versa, than actual people. Meaning that his work, his messages through all the different avenues of dissemination from his organization, Isha Kriya Yoga, has impacted untold amounts of people. So anyway, the point is the sound, and this video also had a very nice music, flutes, and had different voices like a vocal choir and tabla playing it, and sitar, of course, and just the images that went along with the video. But Sadhguru said the description for the video said this mantra will melt your consciousness, melt your ego into union of divine bliss. And it worked. Simply, it worked. I was already kind of in what the shamans call a non-ordinary sort of reality from a lot of outside events in my life, and just all this was coming into focus, and it was my time of ascension. And I don't know if it would have happened quite in the same way without mantra and being able to focus on that and the specific language of the soul that creates that connection with source, which changed my life and has given my life purpose beyond whatever I thought that purpose might have been in August or September of 2021. So we're getting close to 2 years, 2 years from that point here soon, and it's just anyway. So my point with this is, with Ascension and with the tools that you have available, it can be as simple as just when you're starting to feel kind of anxious or something, to focus on your breathing. Like I said, because when you do the 50% more out breath, or say just 2 seconds longer, you do 4-second in breath, 6-second out breath. You do 6-second in breath, 8-second out breath. Long as the out breath is longer, you're activating your vagus nerve, and that system is tied into your right brain, which is your God mind, and it basically is a way to unite the two hemispheres and put you in that that non-ordinary reality state of bliss. It's like a type of bliss. Yes, if you do it long enough, you will be in that moment. You enter into that God moment. And certainly with mantra, the science of sound, mantra can be described as the language of the soul. And Um, and also another thing I was going to go where I wanted to go with the words and the mantras and the images that are associated a lot of times with Hindu and even in Christianity, people are oblivious to the fact of symbolism. That all these symbols no one they don't really believe that like Shiva, this big blue giant with snake like a cobra and tiger skin, and that may have been true a long time ago, but all that imagery is very symbolic. And a lot of times people get turned off by this because they think that, what is that, child sacrificing, because it looks odd to them. But no, this is all symbolism. And in fact, anyway, I don't want to say anything negative about what goes on in the world, in the Western world with children. Jason Shirka has a good documentary and video coming out about child trafficking and all the evils that go along with that. But essentially, mantra and how it played a very important role in my, I guess, ascension. It's the only way. I've been in the fifth dimension, been able to access uh, those states of consciousness. It started with mantra as a calibrating tool for great cosmic energies, prana of the universe, and the all-pervasive mind substance of source connection of consciousness, being tied into the conscious will of the supreme being that synchronizes all creative forces. Yes, highly, this language and these ideas, perhaps mystical, but the journey is simply dissolving your ego, or at least kind of getting beyond the voice of the ego, and then opening yourself to guidance, which I don't know. It's like when your ego's out of the way, it's like, I guess, think about these martial arts masters and you see them do things, and it's because they're not they're not in that ego mind reference. Everything is because they're relaxed, they're centered, they're focused, and it's all natural and guided. And that's an analogy for your life. When you connect, when you integrate, when you align, when everything about your inner world and thinking and your actions and all that stuff comes into alignment, life becomes very easy. And I can tell you a quick story. It's just being anxious about a possible situation, which I was with a certain situation about my past coming back, something from years ago. And I don't want to go into too many details, but when it finally happened, it was the way I responded to it was something I never would have thought about. Like my ego had never war gamed it how I was going to react. It just came out, and it was the perfect response to the situation that completely dissolved the situation. And it was like, where did that come from? But it was, some people say God. But no, it's that divine wisdom that knows. And yes, I believe we have higher guidance, higher powers, and our souls, because I do believe that our souls have missions, and they had soul contracts before we came into this dimension of forgetting. And it's kind of like when you learn how to let the ego fall by the wayside, that your soul, your higher self, just is able to naturally do what needs to be done. And really, it's incumbent upon you as a person is just to stay in the moment and learn to be happy and engaged in the moment. And when those major crossroads come or decision-making points come, what we call, I guess, the Holy Spirit comes and does its job. I want you to do your job and hit the subscribe button, leave this video a thumbs up, stay tuned for further information dissemination broadcasts from the Om Banda New Earth Ashram for compassion, strength, and living in the divine moment. Namaste, Namaskaram.